Adam Wolf, welcome to the Preconstruction podcast.
Thanks for having me on.
Looking forward to this one. We've got our first young entrepreneur within the construction space. I haven't had many of these on, so really looking forward to getting into your story.
Hey, Gareth, I appreciate the opportunity today to get on this platform and talk about myself and my little journey with Relay Construction Solutions and how it came about and problems we're trying to solve and the people we're trying to talk to.
Good man. Well, let's jump into Adam Wolf first and foremost. Houston University construction management degree. Was construction always on the radar, or what was the thoughts coming up through high school?
Yeah, construction was always on the radar. Growing up, my dad flipped homes while I was growing up, and I was always his little right-hand man with that. And I always watched him and was always in awe about, starting a project and then building it with your hands and in the end, actually having a successful thing to look back on. And so that was always in the back of my mind. To be honest with you, I thought about going down the petroleum engineering route, but then all of a sudden I found myself working at a job as an engineering inspector for residential construction, and at the same time applying and getting into University of Houston. And so I was like, you know what, I really enjoy construction. So I went into construction management, and during my my time at University of Houston, I'd go to school at night and work a full day of work doing engineering, and then that slowly transitioned into working for McCarthy as an internship. And so it was exciting to go from, building homes to building multi-million-dollar projects and seeing, for example, a museum be built. And so it was amazing to watch it all in the process. And so I went from interning at McCarthy Building Companies to working for Christensen Building Group, seeing smaller side of a GC. They were relatively new at the time that I started there. And so it was amazing to see the comparison between McCarthy, who's been around for 150 years, to someone who's been around for 5 years, and someone who does hard bidding versus someone who does, a lot of budgeting and GMPs. And so it was the best of both worlds. Worked there for about a year and then found my way back home to McCarthy Building Companies, a little bit out in the field, and then moved back into estimating. And that's kind of how the career path started for me, and kind of got me into this idea of, and I think there needs to be a better way to do pre-construction. And so,
and that's the world that we're all in. There has to be a better way of doing this. But let me bring you back a little bit. I'm always fascinated with people's education and the construction management degree. How thorough of a degree, and I really like the fact that you did it while you were working, because you're a perfect candidate to ask this question to. How relevant was it to the construction industry, and what was going on right there and then?
Yeah, so I think the way that University of Houston is set up, they set up their degree so that you go to school at night and work during the day. I remember the first day I was there, the dean came and talked to us, and he was like, the best way to go about this is working a 40-hour week so that you come into the school at night and you can talk about what you learned that day. And the way they set it up is they brought in professors that were from a company, McCarthy, Skanza, whoever, and those professors were doing the same thing we were doing. They were working, a 60-hour week, and then coming into class and teaching us about what's the relative information. So it was amazing because they'd have a curriculum that was up to date based off of their current experience, and I'd be able to go in from my time during the day, go in and learn exactly what I just learned out in the field or out in the office. And it was amazing to see how well it correlated. And I think it's the best way to go about things, because you can only learn so much from a textbook. It takes time to go out and get your hands dirty and learn real experiences. And so coming out of it, I graduated, and I had been working for the past 3 years at a commercial industry. And
Brilliant.
I knew, it was time I knew exactly what I was doing.
Brilliant. And you know what else it does, Adam? It's perfect because I only, obviously my own experience, I did an electrical engineering degree, and basically 3 years of book study. So in a classroom full time, Monday to Friday. Then on the fourth year, it was for full year of placement. But it took me until the fourth year of placement to realize that that's not what I wanted to do. So if I had done what you did, I could have, after the first 6 months, I could have pivoted and went, you know what, construction management or the construction management industry as a whole, it's not what I want to do. Let's look at something else. Whereas I had to not waste 3 years, but I had to get through 3 years to realize what it's actually like day to day, what my life would look like for the next 40, 50 years. And it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I love that idea of the dual, learning and working at the same time. So the dean is 100% right. Not everyone does that, but if I was, and we get a lot of graduates and people that want to get into the industry, if I'm advising them, I will definitely advise them to go with the dual of working and studying.
Yeah, no, I promote that in any industry that people are going into. Get in early and get in often, because like I said, it's great what you can learn in the classroom, but it's nothing that compares to being in the real world. And so get in early and get in often is what I always say.
100% right. So another kind of pet hate of mine is these degrees. They're construction management degrees. They don't focus. No, it's not that they don't focus. Sorry, they don't do enough pre-construction and estimating. It's like a small module within your 4-year degree that it's a box ticking exercise. They say, oh no, we covered estimating and pre-construction. It was like two classes over the whole year. How much did you learn about pre-construction and estimating within the degree?
Yeah, so I actually think that's a great topic to bring up, because I think that goes exactly into what we're doing here as well. In construction at University of Houston, just like you said, we only had two classes that focused on estimating. The first class was a very basic estimating class where we actually used, rulers and pencils and calculators to do takeoff, which is great. You get the basis of it, but you can't really apply that really well to the current industry. And then the second class taught you a little bit about OST, about Excel spreadsheets and invitations and stuff like that. But, in my opinion, when you look back on it, it was very much a crash course on estimating. You didn't get the full understanding of what it actually took. And it was okay for me because I was already out doing pre-construction before I took these classes. So I had a pretty good understanding, going into it, kind of what estimating looked like. Obviously, there's a lot to learn, and I learned a lot in those classes, but it wasn't enough. All these classes that we took focused a lot on the field, which is just as important. At the end of the day, if you don't do everything right in pre-construction and you don't set up the project right, there's more than likely the end product is not going to be good. Once you get men on the ground, it's not going to go well if you don't start it up right. So we had a few other classes where we ran mock projects, and we did a little bit estimating there, which was good. But I would say that the curriculum needs to change a little bit. That there needs to be a little more involvement in pre-construction, and a little more taught in those terms.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you. If you've listened to the podcast before, you'll know my motto. The future of construction is pre-construction, and the future of pre-construction is technology and talent. So that to me needs to be, and it's resonating now with the general contractors, that the whole shift of, we need to heavily invest in operations, we need to get the project management, project delivery team right. That's shifting now to, guess what? The more big decisions and the single most biggest decisions are made within pre-construction, and that defines how successful the project is going to be. So that's shifting within the general contractor. We just need to shift that down towards the degree and the professors and the education system, and we'll be going well.
Yeah, and I remember one thing I'll bring up is that I remember in that first estimating class I took, at the beginning of class, professor asked us all to raise our hands if anybody wanted to be an estimator when they got out of college. And I think it was myself and one other individual. And there's not enough done to, I know that estimating is not what everybody wants to go for, but there's not enough done to be like, what, estimating is actually a good career path that you should take, and these are the reasons why. It's not promoted enough, and I think that's part of where at the beginning of the curriculum people should promote that.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, we're not talking about promoting and selling it as the best thing, but just give people an option. Tell them exactly how important it is within the construction life cycle. And because the thing I have, Adam, and we won't get into this too much, but there's people that study construction like yourself that has been on the ground that understand it, but there's people that want to get into construction but they don't want to go to site. Real smart people that think with the right hand side of their brain, and they just want to get into the detail, but they don't want to put on a hard hat and Wellingtons and get dirty on the field. And we're missing out on all that talent, and all that talent need to come into pre-construction. And if they've got like an IT background, whatever sort of background it is, I mean, historical data, pre-construction data, we'll get into that now, data engineers, we need to get all these people into construction, and we need to show them at high school level that there is an option to make a difference within pre-construction.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I think that when you look at construction, all you think about is construction, about boots on the ground. And you never, growing up as a kid, you never even heard about pre-construction, the start of it all. You just assumed it just started out. So promoting that early in high school would be a good idea.
Good man. So Adam Wolf, let's bring you back now. You're with McCarthy. Your career is flying. You're obviously extremely good at what you do. You've got operations experience. It's January 2021. You're an estimator at McCarthy. You go to your parents and you say, guess what, folks, your mentors, even within McCarthy, your aunts, your uncles, your support network, and you go, I'm going to start my own business. How does this come about?
Yeah, so backtracking a little bit, definitely want to say I think that I have a pretty well rounded knowledge of estimating, but there's so much to learn about it. And I think being young gives me that ability to be unbiased in my opinions and to have the ability to look at things a little differently and learn from that. And so I took that, and I remember this actually started back in December 2019, sitting at a bar with my brother-in-law who was running a company for oil and gas, software company as well. He did something similar to what I'm doing now, taking people out of Excel spreadsheets, an outdated program, and moving them into a program that was dedicated towards finding wells. And I was sitting there, we were having a drink, and I was talking about one of these projects that we were running. It was a $100 million plus project, and we were using Excel spreadsheets. And all of a sudden, we're finding ourselves in this environment that owners wanted more and more detail. They wanted you to show more detail. They wanted to work more with you. They wanted to know where you found out this information, and they wanted to be as highly involved as they could in these projects. And so, as great as that is, I didn't feel like we had the program that was dedicated to have that output available. And so I was talking with him, and I started talking to some of my other buddies who are in the construction world. And I was like, hey, are you using Excel spreadsheets as well? Are you having this problem A, this problem B? And, they kept referring back to me and saying, yeah, that's weird that, we're dealing with so much money here, so much data, and yet we're using Excel and other, outdated programs to get to this end product. And so, back kind of at the beginning of 2020, we started developing an MVP here, trying to kind of figure out what's our minimal viable product, talk to a lot of individuals in the market, talking about, what's your pain point here, what's your pain point there. And, started off and kind of found our MVP. Corona hit, of course, which actually was an ideal situation for us. All of a sudden, a lot of people became available to talk to us, via video call, which is perfect for me because I was working full time at McCarthy, and I obviously wanted to keep those two things separate. Trying to find out whether or not this program was going to work, if there was actually a need for this program. So, after work, I'd be able to sit down with someone, on a video call and chat back with them because they had the time available. And so, come December of 2020, we had gained a lot of interest, and I knew that, if I really wanted to tackle this, if I really wanted to put all the effort that I ever could put into this, I had to jump ship and I had to take that risk. And so January came around, and I was like, it's a new year and it's going to be a new me. And so I was like, it's time. I've got the backing I needed to get into this programming. And so jump ship January of 2021 and found myself in this new role that I previously, I'll be honest, hadn't thought about. I didn't realize I was going to be in. And so it's been so exciting because I've been into a, sort of a sales role, sort of a product development role. And so it's been a new experience for me, and I've met a lot of great people so far, and all the things I'm learning, it's just out of this world, and it's
Love it.
been amazing.
I love it. I love it. I mean, a big risk, but I mean, huge reward. And doing it so young that you mean, I don't know if you've got a mortgage, you've got kids, you've got different things. You can take more chance. Yeah, you can take more of a chance at that age. But what was the response? I mean, you seem to be a very level-headed young man that has got a lot of good support. Going about something like this, how do you go about it? I mean, obviously you had been kind of playing with it and beta state testing it, different things throughout 2020. Coronavirus hits. As you say, the best ideas generally come out of a recession or some sort of global kind of pullback or drawback. How do you go about it? Do you just say, right, I'm going to start a new business, or do you have to go and get funding? Do you have to go and get a team in place, or do you just go it alone yourself, as you say, wearing loads of different hats?
Yeah. So basically, what happened is that I found a company called Cloudbreak Enterprises. They had just recently started out. They were in sort of an incubator business builder. They take programs that they think are viable ideas from 0 to 6. And so I've been working closely with them, which has been great because they have that knowledge and background of experience with West Coast developers to kind of promote you to that 6th step. And so, it took a lot for me to go from that estimator to the salesperson, but I had all the people I needed to back me up to go, hey, do this, do this. And the way it works is like, the things I've learned is you got, like I had promoted early, is you got to get in early and you got to get in quick. And so I kind of had to learn that from my years at school, is that go and talk to as many people as you can. And, generally take notes, but don't take too many notes, because when you don't take too many notes, you start to think about it. You start to hear the same things over and over again. You kind of realize, well, that's the problem. Well, that's the problem. So it's really talking to individuals. And so kind of still being young and not being in estimating for 20 plus years, I kind of was able to look at it a little bit differently. And wasn't too stringent to an idea. And so we had a base idea and we wanted to do that base idea really well. And so talking to a lot of GCs, we got a lot of good reception back. Obviously it takes time to build trust with those people because we are a new software. And so it's building that trust. And the way that I look at it is, my mom would probably kill me if she knew I was going to bring her up as an example, but she had problems with sleeping for the longest time, and it turned out to be sleep apnea at the end of the day. And so for 10 years, though, she didn't go get that problem solved. And so doctors, telling her this, and this. And eventually she finally got it resolved. And what came out of that was better sleep, right? And so we look at it the same way that we're solving this problem that we have right now. We know the problem. There's been a little resistance to fixing that problem. But if we go step by step by step, start talking with them, start producing good ideas, solve that problem, have them look at what the problem is, then the end product is that at the end of the day, they're going to be more efficient, they're going to save more time, and have a better end product. And so it's been a huge learning experience. Back in estimating, I wasn't big into happy hours all the time, and now all of a sudden I find myself at every happy hour I can get. any lunch I can take someone out. I love talking to people. I love making those connections, and there's so much to learn in this environment, and I don't want to ever hinder myself from not keeping an open ear. We're still young, and so we can pivot in any direction we need to, and it's just been so exciting.
Brilliant. I love it. And see the idea of pre-construction estimating, helping each other, estimators, pre-construction managers, right, VP directors. That's the only way we can move forward and reduce the capacity deficit of buildings, roads, whatever it is that we have to build over the next 20 years. And technology is a big part of that. But until we start helping each other and collaborating, we'll never really get to the bottom of it. So Relay Construction Services, what did you find out? And I want to bring you back at the very beginning, because you always start with an idea. This is the problem I want to solve. And as you say, you pivot and as you go. What was the first immediate big red herring that you needed to solve when you thought Relay Construction Services, I want to solve this problem?
Yeah, it was definitely Excel spreadsheets. That was the problem that I wanted to solve. It was the part of, we got good advice in the beginning. Pick a segment of the market, and do that segment really well. And so that was Excel spreadsheets. And a lot of people do their budgeting and buyout of Excel spreadsheets. And so to me, working in Excel spreadsheets for multiple companies, it didn't quite make sense that we put billions of dollars through these spreadsheets, and it was created by some guy, 20 years ago. And you're asking a team of young estimators to kind of have a good standing and knowledge of how Excel works and how those formulas work. And so through experiences of mine, I found broken formulas. I found miscommunication and misinformation. And so it didn't make sense that we were setting up in this environment that wasn't dedicated to pre-construction. And that's kind of where it came about, was that I was like, I would rather work in some other environment, and I would like to produce that myself, so that I, at some point, would like to look back and be like, I would use this product and I would want to show my coworkers. And so solving that problem was the budgeting and buyout. We wanted to create a program that could do anything from ITB, communication, bid leveling, and then the budget and buyout portion. And so, because I think that that's an all-inclusive environment together. And so when you're doing this, it's like you're creating a story, right? So from the beginning to the end, and all that information needs to be stored in one place, and it needs to be attainable at any time. So we put everything in the cloud. And so we've been really, really focusing on that and what that means for that, and what kind of features people are looking for. And so the biggest problem that we faced with that, obviously, though, is Excel. It's a good program, right? It is very customizable to your liking. And so that was the big thing we needed to solve first. How do we make a program that's structured enough that you're not going to run into errors, but also customizable enough that it fits into your workflow? And so we went about solving that issue. And we have a great web architect that's been working with us. He used to work with Steve Jobs, creating a UX design. And we've got to this finished product that fits into everybody's workflows, and it's customizable to how you like it, but structured enough that you're not going to sit there at the end of the day going, man, I hope that formula is correct, or I hope that I save that communication somewhere, and you'll know exactly where it's safe because it's all online now.
Good. And I think shout out is Daniel. He's the architect.
Daniel is our software engineer. Eric Hope is our architect.
That's right. So yeah. Eric. So shout out to Eric. So how do you go about it? Because you mentioned workflow there. Have you sat down and have got a target market? I mean, are you talking about the ENR top 200? Are you talking about mid-level GCs? Are you talking about just commercial construction? Are you looking at residential? What is your product target market?
So our product target market is definitely commercial. We can do residential, absolutely, but our target is commercial for the time being. And it's not just a top ENR, it's anybody in commercial. And so we wanted to be able to go from, people who are bidding out hard bids 200 times a year to someone who's doing a soft bid 7 times a year. And so it does everything from budgeting phases to bringing in, 3 bids and a buy. And so that was the toughest part that we had, was how do you bring in the guy who does it like this and the guy who does it like this into one environment? And so I think we've successfully got it.
Good. And because every industry and sector, healthcare, life sciences, light industrial, multifamily, whatever it may be, so you're customizable to all that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're definitely, and that was part of the getting out and getting early, because we wanted to talk to all those individuals, what does your program look like? What does your workflow look like? What does your workflow look like? And part of the process that we run in with new clients is that we'll go and say, hey, give me your workflow, and we'll show you exactly how your workflow fits into our program, so that, they're not taken aback by, well, I don't know how this works. Well, we can show you exactly how it works.
Brilliant. So that's the customizable piece that you wanted to replicate from Excel. Very good. And that was a big part of it. And what's the feedback been like? Have you pivoted any? Have you introduced new parts of the software, or how's that been?
Yeah, it's been really well. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. There's not many programs out there that are tackling this segment of the market, and it's needed, right? There's a lot of understanding that there's a need for a new way of doing things to improve efficiency and innovate in this market. And so it's been great. Obviously, from the beginning, we had an idea and we pivoted it a couple of times to get to the end product that we're at now, with all the feedback that we've gotten. And we're continuing to adapt to that feedback. As we grow and as we talk to more people, we want to make sure that It does what the people want, and it doesn't do what we think it needs to do, right?
Brilliant.
And so it's a customer backed program, as I always say, made by estimators for estimators. And it's not someone who's a conglomerate of web designers who are thinking, well, this is what I need. So we've continued to change and challenge ourselves and grow in features, but don't want to get so many features that it becomes convoluted and you end up with another program that has 100 buttons and you only need to use 3 of them. So it takes a lot of time to take that program and tweak it until you get to something that's very simple, but does things very well.
Brilliant. I love it. I love the feedback part of it and the customer centric part of it. And you mentioned there that the idea of the first product has pivoted 2 or 3 times. What are the big learns that you've had, and you thought, wow, when I started this, I didn't think that the customers wanted that part?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so in the beginning, I thought, I think that I was going into it from what I learned from McCarthy, and that was, that it was done this certain way. And so what we've learned is that the market, it is confined to a certain way of doing things, but at the same time, it's not done a certain way. And so I didn't kind of realize, McCarthy, we did budgets and we did do budgets and buyouts, but sometimes, at McCarthy, we would do, hey, let's talk to the subcontractor for about 4 weeks. Let's get all their input in. And in other markets where, subcontractor, give me your pricing. And then afterwards, I'm going to talk to the subcontractor after I've submitted the pricing to get, what's the actual pricing. So we kind of had to pivot on there to look at, it's not just all this and then pricing, it's this pricing and this again. And so we had to pivot to that program so that it could do both ends of it. So that was kind of an eye-opening experience for us. And I mean, every day we're learning new things about it that we could incorporate it. But biggest thing is just communication. Communication's not, there's a huge problem with communication and data being trapped in these Excel programs. So we were trying to solve that.
Brilliant. And pre-construction data is the future. I mean, if we don't use pre-construction data, we're in trouble. We're never going to expedite any sort of estimator or pre-con process. So how are you working with pre-construction data, and how well is that working? What's the feedback been like from customers?
Yeah, it's been going really well. So the way we work with pre-construction data is we go in, we have a sit-down meeting first with our clients, and we try not to show the product, because if we show the product, then it might create a bias for what we're talking about. If we go in with an open mind, learn about their workflow first, learn about what their problems are, then we can go in and we can structure the next meeting about, well, this is how Relay's incorporated. And our best, the thing that we love to do is to sit down with them. I can go in for a day and sit down, you do your program, you do your typical workflow. I'll come in next to you and I'll show you how I do it in Relay. Because at the end of the day, everybody's super busy. So we want to do it so that there's, minimum impact on your day. We also love to take Excel spreadsheets that are already existing and auto-populate them into our program to show, hey, this is how your data looks into our program, so that it's, so that you get the understanding that it's not that different from what you're looking at. It's just in a different program.
Brilliant. And what about the communication thing? Because we always talk here on the Pre-Construction podcast about the 3-legged stool. You've got the owner, the client, the owner, the architect, and the GC, and the exchanging of data, and who owns the data and who's allowed the data, and what permissions you give each other. How does Relay work with that? I mean, does the owner have a separate login where they can go and see and look at progression, schedules, costs?
Yeah. So it's funny. So, with the way we look at it is everyone's at the same table at the end of the day, trying to do the same thing, and that's get to that end product of building. And so the way that we take it is that everyone, there's a dedicated architect login, there's a dedicated owner program, and there's a dedicated general contracting program. Because, what the owner cares about, what the architect and the GC care about are completely different. But at the same time, it all needs to be in the same environment, so all communication stay saved, because we're all trying to create the same story, right? And so we've dedicated each program to those reports and to that look, but at the same time, they all communicate as a whole, so that there's no loss of translation anymore. So that it's not he said, she said anymore. It's oh, I see exactly when you said this and at what time, and I know that you have received that information based off of our auditing log. And so it's saving all of that, because I remember being back in estimating, it was like, when did we receive that from the architect? I didn't get that communication. Or when did subcontractor A say this? Well, I got to go find that email somewhere. Or maybe it was a phone call. I'm not totally sure. You do your best as an estimator to track all the information, but it wasn't in an environment that it should have been, like what we're trying to promote now, being all inclusive.
Yeah, absolutely. Transparency, collaboration. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
the way forward, because as you said at the very beginning, and I thought it was quite interesting that you said the owners and the clients want more information. Now, it's not a case of there's a GMP of 100 million, go and build me this and come back to me when it's finished.
Yeah.
They are so ingrained in the project now. They've got time. They want daily, if not weekly, updates and schedules and costs, which is good. And collaboration within the three-legged stool is so important, especially when you get IPD and design build type methods. Everyone, it's there for everyone to see, so they should be able to access it.
Right.
Good. So what's the future like for Relay? Tell me, without giving me any secret sauce or any of Daniel or Eric's things that they're working on. What's the future hold for Relay? What do you think the future of pre-construction looks like?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's tough to say what the future looks like, right? At the end of the day, we all still swing the hammer the same way we swung it 100 years ago. But the way I want to see it is, I think that, going into it, kind of back to when the program, things you talked about, when I started this first, I wanted to be an all-encompassing estimating program. I wanted to do everything from takeoff to contract writing to scheduling and everything like that. But what we really just want to focus on right now is that budgeting and that buyout portion of it, because everybody loves certain programs. And so the way we want to work is be able to integrate. So the future for us looks like focusing on this problem, making sure that this problem is solved to the best ability possible, and being able to integrate with other programs that you like. So that way we can get kind of that line going a little bit straighter, and you're not going over and under and over and under. And so I'm hoping that the future of estimating is pretty bright, because hopefully we can continue to innovate. It takes people challenging themselves to innovate, to continue to scale and grow to the best of your businesses. And so if you want to grow, you got to go back to innovation table. And so here, really, we're just going to keep innovating. We're going to keep challenging people's minds and helping people solve the problems that they have. And who knows what the future looks like? But technology is going to back it. That's what I know. So.
100% right.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to see Adam Wolf in the middle of everything. And tell me now, when you go to a GC, whether it's small, mid-level, ENR top 100, what's the pushback you get? I mean, are you getting good reception, or are people just saying, yeah, let's try it out? Because I know from speaking with all pre-construction technology firms, we've had them on the podcast, last year, the guys that are full up and running was their biggest year ever for sales. They kicked it out of the park. It was battered out of the park. It was amazing. So are they quite receptive? What's the pushback like? Are they like, yeah, let's go, let's come on board, let's test it, let's beta test it, show me what you've got?
Yeah, so the reception has been amazing. There's been a lot of understanding that there's a need for this new program, that there's a need to change the way things have been going and to get out of Excel, because Excel can only work so well. And so people want to see that innovation. And so we've been focusing a lot of people, larger GCs who have innovation teams, and partnering up with them to continue to work on this product. So the reception's been positive. Obviously, with any new startup, it's all about building trust with the customers, and that takes time. They want to see that that you work well with other people, that this environment's for everybody, because it's not just GC, it's also subcontractors. Do they believe in this program as well? And so there's such a big market that it takes time to talk to everybody, to get everybody's input and come back to the drawing board. And so starting this out about a year ago, we have a couple of customers that are currently looking at it, and we're on the cusp of our first contract with them. And so we've gotten a lot of feedback. We've gotten a lot of demos, a lot of good working material. The biggest thing is like, we've been testing it and testing it. We want to make sure it's foolproof. And so that's kind of the stages that we've been in and about to leave. And so, the future, we'll see what it holds for us. But I think it's pretty good.
Good, man. Okay, well, before we leave it, Adam, now let's give us the elevator pitch and where we can find you. Anybody out there listening's got a GC owner, a VP of pre-construction, CIO, whoever it is, director of innovation. If they were interested in your product, why should they be interested in your product, and where can they contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my little elevator pitch I give is that we're a budget and buyout tool that does everything from ITB communication to spreadsheets. And so what we want to do is improve your efficiency and your time spent in that process. And you can find us, online at relayconstructionsolutions.com, or you can email me at adam@relayconstructionsolutions.com. And we're interested to talk to anybody and everybody. We, like I said, we're still young, and so we can pivot. We can adapt to what your workflow is pretty easily. And so that's my little pitch. So I appreciate the opportunity today, Gareth, to get on your podcast and talk.
Yeah, no problem. The more young entrepreneurs we can get in trying to fix pre-construction and make it better, the better. Before I let you go, Houston, Texas, we relocate. You might not know this, but my day job is recruiting, helping companies recruit, retain, and develop pre-construction talent all over the US. We move a lot of people to Houston, Texas. Give me an idea what it's like. Anybody out there that's listening looking to relocate to Houston, what's it got down there?
Dude, well, you know what? You got to get used to the heat first. So if you welcome sunny weather and hot weather, then definitely move on down here. And if you want the best food you'll ever have, this is the right place for you. And so I recommend anybody Houston. I've lived here for the past 6 years and I love it. There's so much to do here. And there's obviously a lot of construction going on, and a lot of amazing construction, a lot of big projects, museums, and cultural centers. And so I recommend Houston to anybody. It's amazing how big it is, and it's amazing all the people that you'll get to meet and the different cultures you get to experience. So definitely give Houston a look.
Good, man. Well, listen, Adam, well, thank you very much for your time. I will put all your contact information in all the comment section below when I put all the content out. So thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing what the future holds for Relay Construction Services.
All right, Gareth. Well, I appreciate it, man. Have a good one.